Hey! Hello, everybody! Hey, it's only 10 to 10. We're actually early.
Wish it was 10 to 10 here.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. And welcome to another episode for the Cortex Group. I think we're on episode 39 at the moment. I'm just waiting for everything to update. And yeah, we're back to book 1, episode 3 of part 2. And yeah, we'll do a quick recap of the game, just wait for everything to catch up. And hopefully we'll have audio this time. We've already done an audio test. Oh, that's new. That's not. I hate it when they do that. What the hell is that? That needs to be in the centre. Is it going to go away?
Where is it?
It says the Cortex Group is now live streaming tabletop RPGs 39 Book 1, Rise of an Empire Season 2, House of the Rising Trickster.
Yeah, well, we know that we're here. Why is it telling us that?
I don't know. I think it's for the people that aren't watching. Does it go away?
Are we doing tabletop RPGs?
Really? Really?
Slap
It's not going away.
Drop kick him.
Oh, that didn't help. What am I supposed to do with that? I can move it around, but I can't lock it in place, and it won't.
Can you move it off the screen? Is that where the chat's going to appear? Wait.
Oh crap! I don't know where the chat's going to appear.
The chat.
Chat.
We probably won't have to worry about that.
We don't.
Apparently nowhere. Crap!
No.
That's the chat.
Hello! Oh, it's us.
Oh. No one here, just the thing upstairs.
Everything's gone
Oh!
wrong. Are you all right there, mate?
I thought we got a new follower.
Yeah, the Cortex Group.
No, that's us.
That's totally unfair that they do stuff like that.
Yes.
Because now I don't know what to do with it.
Maybe we'll get new followers. They come on, watch us doing absolutely fuck all.
Yeah, but entertainingly.
Where the hell's the chat box gone then? Yeah,
Upset
exactly.
you're giving up your evening. Try giving up your sleep.
Front end, view account. Oh, that doesn't help. Alert box, event list, yes. Right, I've lost my chat box control, this one particularly. I'm going to have to do it manually. Well,
That's
it's
That's
just
awkward if it's going to sit there.
forever.
And ever.
Huh. Well, let's not. Let's. Well, that's new. That didn't happen at all in the last week.
Mm-hmm.
That just looks rubbish. Ah, we'll leave it for now. Let it not distract us. Right.
Eyesight. Right now. Oh, great.
Oh, yeah.
Octopus! Why are you having to get that close?
Because I can't see.
I've just made it. Right, whatever. Right, we're getting on. So,
I'll
what
explain
happened
why I
last week?
can't see.
You're blind as a bat.
Are you suggesting what I'm doing or suggesting what I am?
All the above.
Oh, no!
Ah!
Woohoo! Oh, didn't get the screenshot.
Why would it
I know.
do that? Right, that's it. It's not getting uploaded. Right, let's see.
Definitely has
So,
folds.
last week.
Oh, he's gone. He's off the.
What the hell?
Eh?
So, and he fell out of his chair. Oh, come on. Right, so I can't move. Right. At least I haven't gotten into the habit of walking around while I talk. Right.
What's going on there?
Freak. Right.
Pew, pew, pew.
Get up my leg!
What do you think about that? Pew, pew, pew. No one knows what the fuck is happening right now, but it makes
Nope.
perfect sense in our world.
Well, I'm just laughing nervously.
He's what, nervously?
I'm just laughing nervously.
Oh, laughing. He's
I
flapping
don't know.
nervously.
Right.
He won't attack when I'm doing this.
So, last week, where did we leave it? A quick episode synopsis. Lord Guthrie Magnus apologised to Ulmakor for his outburst, tried to explain his situation more calmly, and again asked if Ulmakor saw the bigger picture. If you remember, he mentioned specifically that it was to do with putting pressure on but not actually going to war, and in his opinion that would also help the peace process as opposed to the obliteration of his entire tribe, which would weaken King Bjorn's attempt to bring the tribes together. Ulmakor also had spoke a bit more at length with King Bjorn about the threat and the Semnothei, or the former Semnothei, posed. The sheriff, Nicholas, who would...
Sorry. Sorting something out on my desk. 1 second.
The troll is trying to get out your desk.
I'm sorting something out on my desk.
What's he doing, top right?
Family request.
Yeah. Get the troll out your desk. Nicholas had reported that there'd been a disappearance of a family with the Dietrich Eberl, the tanner, had been found slaughtered. It appeared to be some kind of animal attack, and in Nicholas's opinion, the sheriff's opinion, it was a wolf attack in the centre of town. Well, actually not in the centre of town, near the eastern wall where the tanners are. Wife Adolphine, daughters Bertha and Josephine had clearly been in the house but had not been located. They were now considered missing. The door had been smashed in, but there were no other tracks that could be followed. So he, with Earfirth, went off to investigate the situation. In the meantime, that's when he left the... at that point, you were brought up to speed a little bit by Caradak, who had explained that Arvid, who used to be a man from the far, far south, who had brought a certain type of business to Reichdorf and the shores of the Reich Basin, which was that it was a place that was never given a true name, but it had been somehow developed to be called the Tents of Pleasure, though nobody remembered where that name came from. Arvid had left and had actually left this very large building that sits atop the dwarven ruins below Reichdorf. Had been left to Caradak, including staff and finances. The conversation went on for a bit about that. Somebody brought up some new concept of taxes, which you hadn't decided if that was a good idea to mention to the king. That basically he could make people pay for having a building in the town.
Rob them blind.
Then at that point, the Caradak, Grim, and Ulmakor were rocked by the concept of money by Alfgeir. We said, well, we should make Guthrie, we should make the Talutan envoy give you money, because that's what makes the world go round, as it were. And you guys have no idea what the hell he was talking about. Much to your surprise, apparently they use this stuff to buy things when you're obviously just getting it. That kind of put Alfgeir on the back foot as well. You prehistoric, pre-first century crazies. Anyway, you decide to take a walk through the town, see how it had developed, how it had changed, with the idea of, for investigative purposes, end up at Arvid's or Caradak's, just to see what was going on there. At that point, Ulmakor had started to speak to Guthrie Magnus, who had been waiting for him. Caradak, Grim, and Alfgeir went downstairs to wait. As Ulmakor finished his conversation, he walked down the stairs and he said, "Right, let's, I'm ready. Let's get moving. Everyone all right." And you noted that Caradak's peculiar distracted sort of or distraction had continued, and without answering, he walked across the main hall of the king's ground floor to the old door that led to Erstat Drago's chambers, which were now behind a hanging tapestry. He pulled the tapestry to one side where he found timber, and he kicked it. Well, he ripped it apart. He then said, "Can you feel that, Ulmakor, as you approached it?" At first, you felt nothing, and then you exclaimed, "Yes, I can feel that now." Grim drew his weapons, stepped in, where he was visibly noted to actually give a shudder before striding down the main corridor towards Erstat's doorway. The rest of you filed in afterwards. Grim kicked in the door, and all of you noted the lack of impact sounds from within. Grim stepped in and could see this mucus-like substance, these tendrils, almost like glutinous flesh, as the smell of rotting meat and the sea, the salt air, came wafting out towards you. He immediately waded in with an axe, which agitated this mass, and it started to pull away from him. You called for light, at which point Caradak said, "Don't bring light, don't let it see you," but it was too late. Alfgeir had called in the guard, and the local guard could come running in with oil and firebrands, at which point and it was hard for you, Ulmakor, to be able to see over the back of Caradak. But Caradak could clearly see Grim was in somewhat... well, he was in trouble. This glutinous mass had started to rise up around his legs, and no matter how much he hacked, it would drop to the floor if he hacked a piece off, and it would rejoin the greater mass, which seemed to grow. You stepped to the side as the soldiers came in. Two of them reached this mass, this unidentified thing, and plunged their firebrands in to it, which they both his brands immediately went out. Then one of the soldiers, one of the guards, was picked up bodily, screaming, and he disappeared up and above into the chamber above the doorway, where you heard his screams become muffled before the sounds of bone being crushed and his gurgled cries of pain being silenced. The point as we continue, Ulmakor, you've just called for Alfgeir to throw... Well, he has just thrown oil. You called for oil. Alfgeir, you passed by as Caradak backed into you, Ulmakor, effectively, making you stumble, notably, something that you've never seen his reaction before as he backed away hurriedly. Alfgeir, you passed by and threw the oil onto this mass where in the dim light that you're suffering from, it's hard for you to see the difference between the dwarf and this mass. You can just see a struggling movement and the sounds of his axes falling upon soft tissue, because this is completely lightless to you. And that's effectively where it ends. So you've got soldiers filed into the corridor. The corridor is bathed in light, but because they are behind you, Ulmakor, then it goes from Ulmakor goes to Caradak, and then Alfgeir. Alfgeir, you are seeing this grey mass. You can see parts of what is clearly a dwarf, but he looks to definitely be struggling. The difference between the two is you can't identify. You can just see where the dwarf is and the mass is. There's no, they're one and the same. The only difference is you can see the frantic movements of his arms, these big powerful shoulders, as he's slashing back through with the axe, slashing down and around him. But the darkened shadow of what is in the room is clearly rising up. You are also clearly aware that it is nowhere near the full mass. The sounds of slithering and the sloppy sound is coming from above you, inside the chamber. So if you imagine the door archway is like that, and then inside, and you're just aware that the vast majority of whatever this is actually in the ceiling.
I'm going to try and save the dwarf then. Grab him by the scruff of the neck and try and drag him through the door.
As you are stepping through the doorway, your hand reaches out and you grab a hold of the weapon harness where his axes are normally, because he doesn't wear a top, and you grab a hold of these thick leather straps and start pulling on him. The dwarf is incredibly solid anyway, but as you pull, you can feel just the tiniest sort of give, but also the sound of suction. And he
Right.
refuses to move. You can feel your shoulders start, that muscle when it starts to really pull on a heavy weight, and you realise that you have not got the strength to
I
pull
cry
him
for
off.
help then.
Well, obviously, as you do this, again, Ulmakor, you can't see. You just see that there's a movement around you. The guards have stood up further back. You are kind of in the corridor at this point where you are, but you are crowded. Caradak is pushed up against your chest. The soldiers are behind, bustling to try and get in and help Alfgeir. And Caradak, your bulk is effectively blocking anybody passing you by, and you see Alfgeir, who's just a little bit just a little bit smaller than you in build, but you could see him sort of dive in, and you could clearly see as he grabs hold of the dwarf, trying to pull him out. You also note at that point that the dwarf's gestures, when it was an offensive attack, are now becoming. You can see he's trying to actually cut himself free, but with every piece of every blow upon this mass, the speed with which it retaliates and grabs him is as fast, and he is stuck fast. And you can Alfgeir pulls, fails to budge him, and it calls out for help.
I run over immediately.
Couple
Out the
of
way! And I'm going to grab Grim and use every ounce of strength to pull him out.
Okay, Alfgeir, as he goes out, get out of the way. He literally knocks you off your feet. If it wasn't for the wall, you'd have hit the floor. The force of his passing is so brutal. It catches you off guard. You have trained your entire life. You had your foot set. You were bulking up. You were in there, and the way that he pushed you aside, it reminds you of being a child and your father pushing you away because you'd done a chore wrong. You literally clatter up against the wall. Ulmakor, you see this as he effortlessly, almost childlike, pushes the warrior to the side of the wall, bounced him against it, and then he grabs Grim. Grim, you are obviously in no way panicking, but you can feel it that you are not moving. The weight on your arms is such that it feels like you've been in the tunnels fighting for 2 weeks solid. You could feel the literally the weight from where these things have landed on you. The mess from this creature is weighing you down. You've never felt this. It's not so much exhaustion, it's just the sheer weight of lifting your axes, and you continue on doing so. But the grim reality of it is, as you feel Alfgeir's hand, you're aware of him. You could turn your head and you could feel him pull, and you don't budge. The grim reality settles on your mind that as you could feel this stuff crushing into your legs, you're no longer capable of moving your legs at all. From the waist down, you are solid, and you can feel this weight, this pressure starting to build. It's crushing into the muscle. You can almost feel it in the bone.
Start chopping down where my legs are, like try and get as much space. And with each chopping, start on one leg first, move it back. Start on the other leg, move it back. I'm just terminated to get back.
The effect of your axe blows is like hitting a thickened water. It just, as your axe goes and you bring it back, it just reforms. But with each hit, the splashes again land across your chest. They hit you on your face. You can feel it. Then you hear "Get out the way!" within that couple of seconds, that heartbeat later, and you feel two hands just grab a hold of your weapon belt. And at first, the weapon belt digs deep into your waist, where it's obviously tied, and you feel it tighten around you, and then it starts to lift up, and as it does so, because it is just a belt around your waist that goes into a cross piece, it starts to slide up you. You feel the harness lifting up, and you're in that split moment, instinctively you know that the harness is just going to slip straight off you. It's going to come up over your head like a tunic.
Grab hold of it.
You grab and you lift, as you do so, you feel a moment's you feel a moment's resistance, and then you put everything into it that you can, and you feel your feet dig into the stones in the doorway. As you lift on the harness, it starts to come away. You look down, and in that moment, you see it lifting away, and the heavy dwarf shoulders are still there, and then the dwarf, his hands just come up and just grab a hold of the harness. You let go instinctively and have to step back as the two axes miss you purely because of your instinctive reaction, the speed that you jump back. Otherwise these axes would have severed you, they would have killed you. As the dwarf, who's been firing on all cylinders with these things, just goes like that, and he manages to grab the straps, but he has the axes in his hands, and these blades come around behind you where you're standing, and you go, and you literally dive back as these blades miss you so close you could feel moments of your life being shaved off. Ulmakor, you see Alfgeir's... Alfgeir, you manage to... you're stumbling back. You can see him step forward and dive back, narrowly being being decapitated by these axes that come into the edge of the light of the fire brands behind you. You stand up. You haven't fully hit the floor, but you know you're crushed up against the wall. You sort of, whoa, right.
What's the... I'm looking for Humord. Are there any around?
No, none. There wasn't when you
Nothing
first
wa-
entered. Nothing showed up. No, there's nothing.
No, nothing nearby the fires or anything like that. Just it's complete absence of everything.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, I'm going to make sure I'm out of the way. There's obviously we got to get the dwarf out of the way. I'll just make sure I'm not in the way when Caradak starts using his strength. This is there checking at Caradak, looking at him. Is he his normal self? There's nothing around him. No humor or anything like that.
No, nothing.
Right. Okay. I'll just stay to one side so that when he starts sort of like dragging the dwarf out, I'm not in the way.
Stupid dwarf.
What are you doing, Alfgeir?
I'll get out of the way. I'll exit the room because obviously I'm outmatched.
Okay, so you turn as
I'll
well.
give him some space.
Okay, so both of you turn, and obviously the warriors are bustling to get in. They see you guys turning around, but this is one of those you've got to turn sideways to get through, and they don't know what's happening. So as you both turn, the warriors, there's a sort of a shuffling going on at this end of the corridors. They don't know what's happening. You've turned around quickly, and you find yourselves going like in the dark. Ulmakor, clearly you can see down the corridor, and it is just full of soldiers with firebrands, with their swords out. They have no idea what's going on, but they were called to action, and everyone's just trying to get in and fight what is clearly an enemy somewhere. You all hear "stupid dwarf" come from Caradak's throat. Grim, you've got a hold of your harness. In that moment, as you go and grab a hold of it, all the grime, all the stuff all over your arms immediately makes contact with the rest of you, and you find yourself going, and you're struggling as your arms are starting to be bound in, and you realise you can't now move your arms at all. It just becomes one mass, and the pain that starts to build up from your legs, that's rising up, is getting really serious. Grimnir starts to come to mind. Caradak?
Anytime soon.
I put my arms around him, around his midriff, and like a deadlift, I force him out and back, just to sort of throw him back. More not as a pull back, just throw him back, out away from danger. I just want him out of the room.
Okay. You dive your hands through the slime. You see no other option. You take the risk, and as you just dig your hands in, that first impact, it's soft. You can feel your hands pushing in, and it's almost like literally pushing your hands into a rotting carcass. you can imagine almost this is what it would feel like when a body is turned almost, just getting to that point when it's starting to, the skin is thinned out and the body is literally turning to liquid. As you do so, you grimace and just force your hands through until you grab a hold of the dwarf, your arms reaching around, and with one almighty heave and the sound of suction and tearing, he starts to come free. What are you guys doing as far as Ulmakor, Alfgeir? You've got these guys in front of you, all these soldiers. Are you shouting, "Get back"? What are you doing? Because you cannot move, because they're trying to get past you. They don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I shout the instruction them to make way and push them out of the way of the doors I exit.
Okay, so you're pushing past Ulmakor, obviously, because Ulmakor's went like Alfgeir, go.
Well,
You go
yeah.
charging past. You basically push past them and go, "Everybody out!" There's that moment of as their minds readjust and they start moving out. Quickly moving forward, Ulmakor, you're able to file out as the corridor starts to empty. Obviously, Ulmakor, at this point, you're the closest to the door, even though you've put some distance now between you. You hear the sound of tearing meat. The stench of rot waves over you, and you feel a blow to your back that takes you to the floor. You are winded. You hit the ground so fast that you're unable to even get your hands out to support you. You feel the ground, your face hits the floor. You feel the bite of stone in that moment of stun, but the blow to your back knocks the wind straight out of your lungs. You're just on the floor. Alfgeir, you hear a grunt. You hear this noise of meat, and then and there's noise right behind you.
I turn around. Is Ulmakor on the floor?
As you turn around, obviously it's pitch black, but you do have the light behind you. You spin round, waiting for a threat to see how fast to react, what to need to do, and your sense is real. You can't believe what your eyes. It literally makes you take a moment of, what am I looking at? You see Ulmakor's on the floor bringing his arms around. You can see he's got a cut to his head. It's shallow. You take all this in so quick. What laid him low? What's brought him to the floor? Is a grime, slime covered, very heavy, low gravity Slayer. The dwarf, hair matted flat against his head, has hit him straight in the back. He looks as surprised as you do, as you look the 10 foot, 15 foot to where Caradak is standing, breathing heavily. You can see this, and behind, as he's standing there, you can see Caradak's back. You can see his muscles are up on end. He's just standing there, silhouette against this light, and all you can see is this mass of gelatinous mass rise up, sentient, as if to face off against him.
Sure, that's an Australian sport.
What are you going to do, Alfgeir? You're the only one that can respond.
Well, I'll move to assist Ulmakor in getting his footing again. So I'll help him up.
Okay.
You again. Thought we got rid of you.
His voice is.
I thought you were finished. Maybe I should kill you now.
You are helping him up. The lights flickering from the flames, casting shadows down the corridor. You hear Caradak's voice like you've never heard it before. As you can see him clearly facing off against this mass. Ulmakor, your head's ringing, but you are you're conscious. You're capable of anything. Yeah, that you wish. As
watching.
You come up and you turn around.
I'm literally watching the scene to try and work out what the hell's going on.
This thing seems to pulsate. It rises up to fill the door, and it's almost humanoid in shape. You almost see the shaping of shoulders and head, but Caradak's blocking the door effectively he's blocking you being able to fully see, but you can see everything about him is hyper aggressive, is enraged, far beyond just I need to save my friend from something. You can see him just standing in this doorway, he's not giving an inch. Grim, you're on the floor, pretty much hands pinned to you. You're still absolutely just covered in this stuff. You can't move your arms, you can't move your legs, but it's starting to give under your strength.
I'll keep working at it while watching the scene.
I took you down once before. I would take you down again. I'm a lot stronger now.
There is no reply. You can't hear anything. You just except this sound, this disgusting marsh bog-like sound. But you can see this sort of like this undulating movement. You're not getting the impression that that's just communicating, that it's saying something that only he can hear. It is as if he's talking to something that's living, is breathing, as you're well aware. You've seen it up close. But what he's saying, it doesn't seem to be in response to anything that you can hear, at least.
Slimy as always. It's rather fitting, don't you think, Erstat?
The silence continues.
I draw my swords. I will be the cause of your death, Erstat, but not today. Step back.
Okay.
Out into the corridor.
As he backs up, are you guys... Well, obviously you can see Grim is on the floor. He's not quite capable of getting up. But you see swords drawn, obviously. Caradak backing up towards you. What are you going to do? Ulmakor, Alfgeir?
I'm watching what this grey thing, this slime thing's doing. What's it doing?
Caradak's bulk blocks your sight. If anything, you're not 100% sure because you can, like I say, you can clearly see. If anything, it seems to get smaller. You know, its overall mass in the doorway starts to seemingly, you know, you're like in that because it's obviously in this split second. Seems to, if anything, it gets starts to get smaller with each step he takes.
Ulmakor, we need to keep this thing in here. Whatever was keeping it in here. I don't know. I don't understand this. Was it magic? Something was keeping this in here.
What is it? What is it, Caradak? What are you seeing? What is that thing?
Erstat. I see his face.
Erstat's dead and burnt, if I remember rightly.
I do not lie. I see it with my own eyes, with my very own eyes, Ulmakor. Whatever it is, may not be Erstat, but I see its face. It has Erstat's face.
Right. Well, okay. Well, we're watching that door. Is it coming out or is it staying where it is?
Well, effectively at this point, because he's continued back, you've blocked him from getting further back. Yeah.
Well, we're just standing in the corridor, aren't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just didn't move. So you've obviously walked backwards. You've talked over your shoulder. When he gets up, you can clearly see enough down there that it is up. You know, definitely the mass in the door with this possible humanoid shape that you saw has become a more returned more to a mass in the main room, and if you watch, you can see it seems to be evaporating, dissolving almost. You can see this sort of like a steam coming away from it.
So it's dissolving, is it?
Yeah.
Becoming smaller.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to watch it. See what's. Obviously, doing nothing seems to be working better than doing something.
That's the noise that you can hear. As it starts to get smaller. Caradak, you can clearly see the same thing.
Yeah.
You also hear the same sound on a smaller scale between you from the ground.
Or is it the bits that were attached?
The smell of rot, of bog water evaporating suddenly goes like a real heavy duty cloud, and you look down to see the dwarf go onto the floor as it all just it goes from this jelly down to this liquid so fast, and as it does, it breaks apart and it starts to evaporate into the air, and you can see the steam rising away from it, and with it the smell. But he's clearly soaking wet. He doesn't dry out suddenly. The side effect of it is clear. You also, Alfgar is able to see this as well. You can see the wrist bands, his greaves. You can see the belt buckle around him. Whereas the cloth that he's got on him, his trousers, etc., to soak through, the metal has been pushed into his skin. You could see that he was clearly being crushed by a massive force.
Not do that again.
Yes, you will.
As you watch,
So
the room
as
starts
watching
to clear.
Stand up.
Sorry, Caradak? As Grim stands.
Sorry, as Grim was standing, I was turning sort of half towards Ulmakor. My attention to Ulmakor. Is this? I don't understand what was keeping this thing in here. Do you know?
No, I have no idea why, other than breaking down those wooden barriers, and from what we're seeing, that doesn't look as though it would stop them from for 2 seconds. So I have no idea. You mentioned something about light. I don't know where you got that information from. Don't bring light in it. But no, not a clue. Don't know what that was, where it is, where it's going, how it got here, how to stop it.
Is there? I mean, there was just boards. Just wood. Is there anything special about this wood?
I look down at the wood. Does it look like it's anything special? If there's any around?
You'll have to file out the corridor. You're only halfway down, so you'll have to file back out in the main hall. It's obviously been trampled all over by the soldiers, but they're waiting to be told what to do. They've cleared away, and then you've halfway up the corridor. You've stopped, so you are alone, all four of you in the centre.
Is there a sign that this thing's dissipating, or it's still dissipating,
yes,
or is it gone?
No, it's still dissipating.
It's dissipating. I don't know. I suspect not. I suspect it's something else, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what activated it and what's deactivating it.
Is that the only way in the room?
No, there was the secret exit, remember? Caradak?
Yes. I remember.
Maybe we should go and look and see if that's where it's gone. Leave someone here. Leave the guards here to make sure don't go any further near it. And we'll go around to the back of the stables and see whether there's any sign of it exiting from there.
Okay, all of you?
Okay.
No, I'm not there to tell you that. I'm asking. So Ulmakor says that and turns around and walks away. Who's going?
I'm going.
Yep. Okay.
Walk on out.
Right. Caradak? All through, you hear what Ulmakor says, and they file out.
You want to go after it?
I want to know if it's not at loose in the town. It may not be in this building, but maybe it just went through that into the stables. There are two ways in and out of this place.
Right. Who's going down the hall?
We wait. No point in going down there. See if it comes out.
Right, so you three are going out the corridor around the side of the building, yeah? Is that right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Obviously, Alfgeir, you have no idea what they're talking about or where they're going. And you follow it after them, puzzled somewhat, but ready to act, Ulmakor said. As you do, you step out of the building and remember, this building is not the original one from 5 years ago. It's been rebuilt and expanded upon. Where the slaughter house was against the original building, this is now an extended stonework. You are looking at a wing of a building that goes another, literally surpassing length the corridor and Erstat's original room. You
So
continue
is his
on.
original room still on the outside of the building now?
No. As you step to the one side, you realise, as you walk along, you think, well, this is where we originally would have went left, and that's when all the lean-tos were. Do you remember where the food was and the preparation?
Mm-hmm.
Instead,
Yeah.
it's still the building. You continue on. It's another 5-10 foot wider, and you walk down the side of the stone building, and it is literally the lower floor of a building, and with no obvious doors, though there are windows. The tunnel.
So wait a minute, there's an entire annex
Yes.
that's not being used. It's been hidden behind a tapestry.
No. So the corridor and the room. So, sorry, this was last week, right? You've forgotten as it was described. This corridor and this room had not been collapsed. It had not been broken up. They'd built the annex around it. On the right-hand side, they'd clearly dropped the whole building and rebuilt it, but for some reason they'd kept Erstat's corridor and room. They then built around it, which is obviously far above, it would have took an extra amount of work to build an annex around this one corridor and room. And having stepped out, you can see it's, as the building's expanded in every respect everywhere else, the arches are being rebuilt, everything has been redone, dwarf workmanship. But clearly, they built the southern annex, sorry, the western annex is built around Erstat's corridor and chamber.
Well, that seems weird.
We need to figure out what was keeping that thing in there. And we need to keep it in there. Make sure it doesn't leave.
Is it
Is that
still
a-
in there?
But presumably you continue walking as you talk, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You're walking around it as you're puzzling this out, going, wait a second, they just built around this thing? Eventually, you get to the corner, not eventually, but you get to the corner, and you walk down, and you're following the wall. There's no obviously doors there. Alfgeir's a little bit bemused, no doubt. And then you notice partway across down the wall, further towards the back, what appears to be something, perhaps a rabbit or a dog, has dug near the wall itself. Then you can see where the wall's into the ground, and it's obviously, it's all smooth turf and that sort of thing, and turned mud. But then near the back, you can see what has clearly been a hole dug under the wall, not big enough for a man or a child. It looks like it perhaps one of the wild dogs in the town, has been digging. You've seen rabbit holes this side, but you can see, something has been dug from the outside, going in by the mound of wet turf, wet mud, and it hasn't been, it wasn't done that long ago.
And this would be roughly where Erstat's room is, or nowhere near it?
Well, it's on the left wall. It's not a direct correlation to where the tunnel would be or where the room was by any means, but it clearly goes under the foundation of the building itself. It's too conspicuous to be on that side of the wall as opposed to not being there. If it was on the right hand side, then it could have easily been something else. This is going to be close enough. This would have been where, back in the day, in your mind, your memory would have been more close to where the Thuringians were kept. that's how far away you are and further back. But there's nothing saying that whatever tunnel through couldn't, if it is what you're looking for, or perhaps it is a rabbit that's tunneled under the house.
Well, there's no sign. Is there any sign of anything coming out of it, or is it's just a wet hole?
From what you can see, it's churned up earth in a tunnel. Obviously, Graham and Caradak are standing beside you. Caradak, I've just taken up a lot of time explaining that, but Caradak had clearly just said something, so he's looking at you as he communicates. And you're looking at the hole, and you just sort of go, well, that looks like it's something that's been dug up. Caradak, what did you say?
Whatever that thing is, whatever was keeping it in there, I fear that I may have undone it.
In what way? Released it?
Perhaps. The
And how
knowledge
could you have done that?
I do not know. I don't understand this as you do. I'm hoping you will know what was keeping it in.
No idea.
And we need to find out. And we also need to find out why build around it in the manner that it has. It's clearly King Bjorn's aware of it.
That's an easier question to ask.
Have you seen these tracks? Do you know what would make tracks like that?
What tracks?
The tracks go in and out of the whole sea. There's like a set of 8.
He points at what literally you've never seen anything like this. He points at what appears to be pointed sort of trails, not easily noticeable, something that you wouldn't have noticed. Didn't look out of place, but Alfgeir's crouching and staring at the ground, and he's obviously seen something that you haven't. And what it appears is something, like I say, pointed. Thin at the base, widening as it goes up, and you can see these trail marks going in and out, these little puncture holes, but they seem to be in sets of 8. Not 8 sets of tracks, as in the tracks are 8 puncture holes.
And are they linear or are they wide? As in, it's the wide, as in, so 8 individual tracks that are roughly how wide? Man's stride, horse stride, what?
Right, so basically, you have a memory of the Gloomwood suddenly, and though you wouldn't have, without Alfgeir pointing this out, you wouldn't have recognised it. You see the similarity in the large arachnids of the Gloomwood. If these tracks are of a similar sort of, they're not quite the same, because these do look like points. And obviously arachnids don't actually have, like needle, like stiletto, like holes in the ground. And there was obviously these tracks are making are deep holes.
A big heavy spiders walk, but yeah.
But it's about the size of two grown man's hands, average hands, in sort of width across.
In between each point. So so something that size has been moving.
Yes. Yep. In and out. And it is more similar to. It is literally. It is very similar, but to the arachnid, but obviously equally just as different because of it. But
because
it smacks of memory.
Don't have 20-pound arachnids wandering around.
Correct. Yeah.
I've not seen anything like this.
Well, sort of like that. What we saw in the Gloomwood, I guess, Caradak, but no, not here. I think we should probably follow these tracks, should we not? Let's find out whether the guards are posted at the corridor. Let's get guards to come round here to stand over beside this hole, so that we know if anything's coming in and out, and then we should probably see if these tracks lead anywhere. Valkyr can follow them.
Try.
Well, you, Alfgar, you're going to give the order to the soldiers as you pass by, or quickly
Yeah,
come
will
back.
do.
Yep.
Yeah.
So several of them, as instructed by you, take up a guard position around the exit area, whilst the rest obviously are blocking off the door. At this point, you can see obviously that there's people moving backwards and forwards. King Bjorn's absence, of course, is noticed with all the commotion. Warriors in his main hall, and as you are walking back, it's sort of, what the hell's, haven't seen the king. But of course, you can easily dismiss that as he could be anywhere. It just means he's, he might have just been in the earshot. But when there's a clear fight or a danger, you'd expect the king to have showed up, with his broadsword in hand, as he is wont to do when there's been even a brawl close to his main hall. You continue. You see them. You're crouching low to the ground, and you're following them. In some places, they're very easy to find as it goes through soft loam and dirt. Other times, it's a little bit harder, and you pass by and backtrack on yourself, and eventually find them. Whatever these tracks are, they are clearly not trying to hide themselves. You see that they basically stick to shadows. You find yourselves walking through effectively tightened areas where buildings are close to each other, keeping to the shadows. And in a roundabout way, you end up near the northeastern gate, the gate that you, Caradak and Ulmakor, originally entered Reichdorf, although those years ago as you first left the Great Forest.
Stop.
I stop.
His Karadak's hand grabs, you notice, and Karadak's hand grabs your shoulder, Ulmakor, in a grip in a vice-like grip.
I don't understand what we're doing. I fear this right now isn't priority. Whatever's in there troubles me deeply. We need to make sure it doesn't leave.
Isn't that what the gods are for?
The gods are no match for it.
Neither are we.
But we need to figure out what was keeping it in there.
From all the years.
I don't know. Are there wards? Some sort of runes? Some Dawi stuff? I'm unsure, Ulmakor. I'm hoping that you can help. But this troubles me. And that is a greater threat rather than this.
I have no answers to this one. I don't know.
This is what we do, is it not, Ulmakor? We search for the greater threat. We seek it out. Right now, this
thing's contained. We can't actually fight it. I'm trying to work out. Maybe it's the source of its powers where these tracks lead.
Is it contained though?
It's as contained as we can make it.
Well, you haven't found the second entrance. All you found was a tunnel dug under the building.
All I ask is that we make sure that it is contained. That is it.
Are you proposing to go back in the room?
I'm proposing.
How about you find the person who added the new part of the building on?
So we're not going to contain them. We're not worried about it being contained. We're going to try and find the architect.
Well, if he's added stuff on, you'll know where the entrance is. Because he's the one who's seen the building last.
Who's seen the building last? This building's presumably been here for a while.
Yes, so whoever added stuff onto it will know where stuff's been added. So they should be able to trace back where that stable is. you were looking for.
You want to go back to the building to search for the person who built it, in the hopes they can remember, well, so they can tell us why they built round it, and that's going to contain this thing that's in there.
No, you wanted to find out if the other entrance was keeping the stuff in, or if it'd been breached. We've done neither of that.
Well, we found tracks and we're trying to find out where this thing goes. I don't know how.
You found tracks from a tunnel that is nowhere near the tunnel you're looking for.
Well, it goes into the annex.
Okay, look. I thought I would never say this, but I agree with Grim. I think chasing this thing right now is not important.
All right, we'll head back. I have no answers to what that thing is at all.
I know it is a threat to all of us if it gets out.
It's plain in the nose in your face, but I still don't know how I stop it, and I just still don't know how it got there, and I still don't know how it's being kept there.
Ulmakor, I'm not asking you to stop it. I'm just simply asking to make sure that whatever it is, it's contained.
Then, if you have some plan, back to the palace we go. Then you seem to know more than I do, Caradak. I don't know any more than what you.
It's not what I'm saying, Ulmakor. For fuck's sake, it's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this thing, whatever it is. I saw the face of Erstat. This gloop, this mass, whatever it is, this demon. Who gives a fuck? This is what we do. We kill these things. We figure out what makes it work. But right now, whatever it is, we don't want it. We don't want it out here. You're the mighty Ulmakor. The damn fucking act like one. Let's walk off.
Where are you heading towards? Just down the road?
Okay. Fuck this! No, back towards
Pleasure tints.
no, man. Back towards the King Bjorn's place where we came from.
The main hall. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
He leaves you three standing gobsmacked, effectively in the street. People stare at you, worried as they walk backwards and forwards to see the warrior with his voice raised. They were all alive when the Semnothei were here. The look of shock and, in some cases, horror. But you can also see there's quite a few people, mainly warriors, who are looking with interest at Caradak's back. A few of them turn in the direction they were heading and turn around and suddenly follow him, increase their pace.
Except we're going that way then. Follow.
Okay. Grim, as usual, complete lack of any real emotion. Seems to nonchalantly stroll off.
I think there's probably enough of you to going towards the. I'm talking this to Alfgear. Carry on that way. I'm just going to. I think I know where these tracks lead. I'm just going to go and have a peek at those, just to allay my suspicions of something. I'll be there shortly. There's enough of you there to contain it. I can bring no extra knowledge or insight. Caradak seems to possess more of that than I do, so he may know more than I do intuitively. I'll be with you presently, and I'll head off towards where I think that's going.
Ivan can't handle. Ivan can't handle roleplay. He's like, no, it's too much. I don't like contact like this. This isn't roleplay I'm used to. All right, So you turn and head out towards the main gate, Alfgear. Obviously, I don't know if... Do you lose audio when your camera goes off?
I do. Aye. I
Right.
lose. It just the whole call disconnects. So
So you
I
saw...
don't know. I mean, I was going to give him a bit of information before I left.
Okay, well, so you saw Grim leave. You heard Grim leave.
I heard Grim leave.
Right, and then Ulmakor said, looks like Caradak has more information for me. I just need to look into something, Alfgear. Do you want to go over the last sort of bit again, Ulmakor?
So am I going with Ulmakor or am I going with Caradak?
Go with
That's what I
Caradak.
missed.
Yeah.
Right.
Just-
Okay. Well,
I'll
you
be
can
there
see the
shortly.
tracks lead towards the bridge there, down
Yeah.
by the ford. So, I mean, if you need us with you, I'll come.
No, I think this will be fine. It's just something that's piqued my curiosity. Get back to the palace and Caradak maybe have some insight as to what's going on. I'll be there
Right.
presently.
Okay, so I'll break into a jog and try and catch up on to Caradak.
Okay, right, you do so. I mean, that would only have taken a couple of, literally just blah, 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 and you were moving on, so you're not too far away from Grim, who's, slightly slower walker. Ahead
I'm
of
running.
you...
What are you on about?
What, you're running? Why would
Oh,
Grim?
that's my
Grim
walking
never
pace.
runs. The only time Grim runs is when he's running at something to hit. So, yeah, ahead of you, you can see three warriors approaching Caradak from behind. You can see Caradak's physical demeanour is that of single-minded sort of. He's obviously angry. He's clearly. You'd never seen him before like this. I mean, 5 years ago when you saw him, he was calm, he was calculating, he was light-hearted, even in the darkest of times. You've never seen such aggression from him. Grim, you've spent 5 years with him, you've been through some shit with him as well. You've never seen him in such rage. And back 5 years ago, and in the 5 years you've been with him, Grim, you've never seen him ever even remotely touch on disrespect, never mind raising his voice. And you know that there's a shared bond, there's a closeness between Caradak and Ulmakor, but you can't help but think, help but notice that was remarkably intense and very much unforeseen. You could feel the tension build up between them, and just as it was coming to blows, obviously Caradak swore and turned and walked away, and he stopped and went away, but you could tell from his back as he's storming ahead. People are diving out of the way of the VakTare warrior, yeah, it can't help but play on your mind. But three warriors are approaching from Caradak, and he seems oblivious to them. Caradak, you're heading back to the palace. You're about 3-4 buildings behind, and you hear from behind you the sound of fast-moving feet. It breaks in through the red haze, and you hear, "Excuse me, VakTare. A moment, please."
What?
Do you continue to walk, or do you stop and turn?
Stop and turn. What?
You see 3 warriors, 2 seasoned, 1 a young man. For a moment, his face escapes you, and then you remember it's the young lad that slapped you earlier on in the day.
Okay.
VakTare, you strike me as something. He's the one that's doing the talking, strangely enough. The 2 veterans behind him are quiet. They're not backing him up in the sense of a threatening position to you. They are subservient to him by body language. You surprise me. The reputation of the VakTare is such that to step out of line in public display. Can I offer you a drink and a conversation? There might be something that we can do for each other. You see all 3 of them are wearing the plaid and warrior rings of the Umbarogan.
And what exactly are we going to talk about?
perhaps not best discussed in the street.
I'm not a VakTare.
Apologies. Everyone knows Caradak of the VakTare.
I am Caradak. But no longer a VakTare.
Then, Caradak, friend. There was a misunderstanding earlier today. Let me stand you an ale.
Turn around and not answer. Just carry on. Walking.
Okay. You guys, I mean, basically, as that conversation has had, Grim and Alfgeir catch up as you just turn around and walk away. You guys don't hear, obviously, our conversation, but you catch up with these two warriors who have obviously accosted them. They've spoken and accosted them in that sense. Then you are there close enough to hear him. Well, clearly, he doesn't say anything. He just turns around and walks away, surprising them somewhat. You can see them sort of look at each other, unsure what to do. Then, obviously, your approach, they turn to look at you. Alfgeir, you know the men well. The two veterans, you fought alongside them, and you recognise the young lad. He is a troublemaker. Eckhart, Lotz, and Zeva. Zeva being the young lad. He's only recently, just in the last summer, received his warrior ring, and he is a troublemaker. He's a pain in the arse. And you can't, there's a common sort of thought that someone like himself will get himself killed in the first battle with the greenskin. But the other two men are solid men. But you've got your suspicions about Zeva just being a little bit too much of a scumbag involved in stuff that he shouldn't be. But you've got no evidence, and you haven't really spent much time with him. You just have a dislike for the lad. They see you, and immediately Alfgeir. You recall the rota. They're late for taking over guard duty of the Western Gate.
What are you doing here?
We saw the altercation between the VakTare and the Semnothei. We thought we'd better intervene, to keep the peace. Again, Zeva's the one that does the talking, not the veterans who you've spent. These guys are nearly twice your age. You remember they were training you up, and they're just, they're very uncomfortable. We thought better keep the peace. We don't want those two fighting in the streets. So we just quickly inquired, if everything was all right, why you would be so disrespectful, in case we needed to take action. Which, in your mind, obviously, well, we've got a sheriff for that, and otherwise, who cares? Men fight. That's how you deal with it.
This is out of earshot, right?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Anyway, yes, Alfgeir. They quickly head back up the road that you've just passed by. Graham, did you stop at that point, or did you continue on?
Continued walking. Yeah, human affairs.
Well, anyone's affairs. I don't care. I know where the ale is.
Yeah.
Ahead of you see Caradak climb up the. Well, not climb. That'll be weird. So, take the steps quickly.
on all fours. The side of the wall.
He's the one who left the marks.
And he disappears into the palace. Alfgeir, as your long natural stride, you can estimate quite quickly you'll catch up with Grim as he reaches the main hall. Inside the main hall, there's a lot of guards standing around, looking very confused. Again. Servants are sort of, backed off towards the kitchen area. The place is in disarray. The smell of bog water and that sort of thing is still quite strong.
To approach the area where it was boarded up, corridor.
Yep.
I'll gather all the planks of wood, place them on the table,
Okay.
and obviously inspect them to see if there's any sort of anything on them.
Yes. You can see scratchings have been carved, not carved, have been burnt into them, but there is no way, looking at the debris on the floor, though there are some pieces still attached, you can't tell which side it was on. You don't recall seeing it, however, when you start, breaking it, when you started to pull it apart.
Yeah. Well, I'll face. Do they all have them on?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll face them upright so you can
Put it
clearly
together
see
like
them.
a jigsaw.
Yeah, put it together like a jigsaw. Obviously, I understand. I don't know how we couldn't see it when I went in, so I don't know how it was positioned anyway. So I'll just put it in front and get it so we can all see it. And to
People obviously
grip.
are clearing away from your just because of you, but never mind seeing that you're putting
Yeah,
stuff
I'm
together.
ignoring
Like this.
everybody else. I'm just getting on with it. To Grim, as I'm sort of setting it all down. Grim.
You
Is it-
hear
is-
as you're putting your foot on the second step at the doorway. You hear Grim. And he's looking at the ground as you two enter.
I shout, really? Pick up a nail. And a chicken leg. Walk over.
Do these markings mean anything to you?
Look at the markings.
No, never seen anything before. This looks like scratches, but burnt in with something, obviously, burned into the wood.
No.
This must mean something. Did anyone notice these? I certainly didn't.
Alfgar, you're obviously there at the same time.
You Alfgear. Have you seen these before?
No.
I'm not imagining things, am I? We can all see these.
I'm guessing it says beware the monster. Although they do look a bit familiar.
They do.
Sorry.
Well, I've been walking past them for years, you know.
I spit on my drink on that bill.
Meanwhile,
Familiar how?
So every once in a while, he just opens the tapestry. Oh yeah.
well, they look familiar. What really was it look like?
Oh,
Wood.
that reminds
I've
me,
seen lots of wood before.
The tapestry. Is there anything on there?
No. No, the tapestry is it's been pushed to one side. It hadn't looking over, hadn't been torn down, I suppose. But there's no evidence that the tapestry in any way is altered. It is woven, as you'd expect. Meanwhile,
But the tapestry was covering it, wasn't it?
It was, yes. You just happened to see a glimpse of something that piqued your attention and attracted you to the door at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. Meanwhile, okay. The crowd is passing around you as you three are sort of standing over this wood, making it an ornament amount of time, checking it out. Avgia and Caradak, you're both aware that reading is not a common skill. So they just, they're interested in what you're looking at, but they clearly will just see scratches as well. There is no known language that you're looking at.
I address the crowd. Does anyone know about this passage?
There's sort of, that moment, people looking around, and there's a general consensus of no.
Anyone work on the building?
I mean, you remember that obviously, some of the locals did help, but it was all Dowie. It was a team of Dowie that came in from the Western Mountain Range. They finished the work and left, as they all want to do. It was like a handshake, as it were, with King Bjorn.
Where is the king?
Yeah, I think we need to speak to the king.
Has anyone seen the king?
You know that his guard is also missing. In itself, it's not an unknown thing during the day. To be fair, that he's not here. The town is big. He's free to do and go anywhere he wants. He doesn't sit in his house just like, he will wander off and do things.
Guess we wait.
The room is remarkably silent.
If King Bjorn does arrive, can you tell him that we need to speak with him? Anyone?
People look towards you, Afgir.
Yeah, I'll let the guards know that we're looking for him, and they can pass the message on if he happens to wander by.
A few people, they're going to send a few people off to look for him and tell him to come back under the circumstances.
Yeah, I could send a few out, like. Yeah, I'll do that.
And we wait.
In time, and I don't mean too long, obviously, but in not too long, he's all sort of standing there, everyone's looking around at each other, not knowing what to do. There's no sense of imminent danger coming from the corridor. The smell is retreating. Instincts are calming down. And then, the heavy heavy sound of a few men approaching the building, and King Bjorn comes in with his 6 personal guard behind him. Looking around the room, obviously, for a sign of danger. His fist sort of clenched. He's a bear of a man. What's going on? I hear a tale of a disturbance in my hall. One of my men is dead. Alfge? You see, Alva is also with him. Sorry.
They've discovered a passage and something foul at the end of it. Basically, I mean, there's some sort of creature in a room down that hall there.
Sword!
Don't go in.
Is this your kingdom?
I'm just concerned for your safety, sire.
Brings his broadsword, draws it straight away. Then Alvar, looking very uncomfortable, he's looking at you and then looks at the king, and you can see him bear that decision of no choice. And
I immediately rush to the entrance of the corridor and just stand in front of them.
He takes those couple of steps and bears down on you. I mean, King Bjorn is a big warrior. He's a big man, and he's been fighting a long time. He's killed more than his fair share of VakTare as well. And back in the day when they invaded, you're aware of his reputation. And as he stands before you, obviously the VakTare training kicks in as it always does. Grim, what are you doing? You can see a confrontation. Every instinct is, when a VakTare leads up against the king of Umberogan, the Umberogan ain't going to back down, especially in front of his own people. He cannot. You don't know what Caradac's planning, but Bjorn will not tolerate this.
I'll walk past
you've seen King Bjorn break people for much less than just this implied threat. Will in itself, even if he backs off now, King Bjorn will not let this rest. This insult to his authority in that moment has already taken Caradak beyond Bjorn's temper. Alvar, you can see, has already just went. And the strange thing is, you see fear on the champion's face. Genuine concern, fear, panic in his eyes. You can see Alvar is suddenly split. You don't know what you're more distracted by that suddenly. You've never seen Alvar react like this.
I mean no disrespect, King Bjorn, but please, I have seen what is in there, and it means it. I don't want it to harm you.
Grim.
I say I walk past.
You can
Gareth,
see Bjorn about to react. You've got a split second. What are you doing?
I walk past Caradak, as in pushing past him.
You are shocked as you go to push against Caradak. It's like pushing against a beast or a wall. There is no movement, there is no give. He hasn't even planted his feet that hard. And you are clearly well aware that your strength far surpasses his. And you walk up to him and find your arms bend. And you come to a sudden halt. And that gives, as you see Alfgeir, pause for Bjorn. As suddenly Bjorn seeing the back of the Slayer, who hasn't insulted him, but you can see his eyes are boring into Caradak. Alvar is moving, and you can't tell if he's going instinctively, visually. You can't tell what Alvar's intentions are. You feel a genuine threat towards Bjorn, but in his mannerisms, almost like Alvar hasn't decided what he's going to do, almost like he's playing the idea of backing Caradak. And right or wrong, Bjorn's king. If he wants to go in there, the best anyone can do is try and keep him alive, but you don't block him. This is all happening, almost time slowing down. Like, wait a second, Caradak.
Sorry.
I think I'm just gonna kind of observe this one. It's all above my pay grade, you know.
Woo!
I'm
It's like,
Sigma's champion.
Me boss's boss, and somebody else's boss's boss. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna sit there and watch.
So where are your loyalties? On the sideline.
For Sigma!
Okay, Caradak, you've got a moment. I mean, obviously, everything that I'm saying to these guys, you know, you're a fighting man. You can say that Bjorn is as close as a man can get. There is no coming back. There is violence.
Oh yeah, I get it.
He's about to attack you, and he's not He's not going to pull back. You can see the rage hit. You can see that decision in that moment was, you cannot be allowed to do what you've just done, and there's a genuine threat in there. He's gonna go, but just as he was about to move, you could see everything, every stance, everything in him he was coming. Grim's sudden step in and bounce off of you took him back, but only for a fraction, as his attention has went from the dwarf to what the hell to back to you, and his decision to come for you is, you know, it's there. You literally got a moment before his body reacts to his thoughts.
We can lead the way in.
If you
Pushing again.
Every fibre of my being is telling me not to go in there. And you, King Bjorn, cannot go in there. This is not a disrespect, and not a sign of disrespect in any way. Sometimes you've got to put the title to one side and see things for what they are.
As those words, and this you will always remember, Alfgeir, throughout the rest of your life. King Bjorn, the only person you know that would stand a chance against the brute man is Alvar, and you know you couldn't take Alvar yet, even though he's old. And King Bjorn, you watch the king, who is a big man in life as well as stature. He's twice the size of Caradak, sort of. You remember the slight build of Caradak. You remember the light man. He's built like Alvar. You know, you've got a bigger bulk than Alvar, but nobody has anything compared to King Bjorn. King Bjorn towers above him. But in that moment, as King Bjorn's man, you just see, and you know how fast he moves, and all you know is that you just see that moment, and the fist, faster than you would be able to move out the way of. This thunderous blow that you've seen fell many a man, as it strikes towards him, towards Caradak. For that moment, Caradak seems the bigger of the two. And instead of making contact, as the fist clears the dwarf's head, Caradak's hand shoots up with a speed you've never seen before and catches the shovel-like punch clearly. And in that split second again, bends the fist back of the king. You hear the sound of bones breaking, and he drives him to his knee. And the king goes, "Rah!" And he falls, he literally goes down on one knee, his wrist bent back. You're aware of this happening above your head, Grim. What are you doing?
Step to the side. I'm turning around, looking at everyone.
Okay. You see Alvar. As you're turning, Caradak's driving the king to the ground. You see Alvar's already bursting forward towards them. You don't read emotion on anybody. You just don't care. It's not important, right? But in that instinctive moment, you can see that he hasn't actually got any aggressive tendencies here. It's almost protective as he launches past the king, and obviously Caradak shouts,
Stop! With the other hand.
Alvar's trying to grapple you. He grabs a hold of your hand. You can see it coming as his hands come down towards your hand. What are you going to do?
Let's watch what I'm just watching.
Alvar grabs Caradak's arm and he's just looking at Caradak's face, and you can see he's white, and he grabs him and goes and he tries to pull, but obviously Caradak's braced himself in and just obviously shouts, stop, and looks at Alvar. The king isn't not reacting, of course, as you can see on the floor, assaulted, wrist or hand at least broken. You can see Foe Splitter, the famous sword, the broadsword, and it's coming round, and it's going for a death strike towards Caradak. Grim, you're on that side.
Axe is up in front of it.
You just block it?
Yeah.
Okay. Alfgeir?
I'm going to have to go and help the king.
You are all the faster, more experienced warriors, but there's an entire hall full of soldiers here that are about to launch themselves. Do you draw a weapon, or are you going to go?
No,
You're going to wrestle with
more protective, as in kind of like if there's any blows coming in towards the king. You know what I mean?
Yep. So you're going to step in and block anything else. You can see that he's. As you get closer, you can see the pulverized hand. It wasn't his wrist; it's his hand's broken.
Right.
This hand that you've seen, you'd expect to be able to punch bricks out of the house, and Caradak just crushed his knuckles. He didn't snap his wrist. The grip of the fist crushed the knuckles of the man's hand. It was obviously the pushback that drove him to the floor. Grim, you bring your axes down. You feel the blow. The strike from this sword against these axes. You've had softer strikes from Black Orcs. You're literally like, whew! You can't help but literally in your mind go, nice blow. But you're also aware that the speed of the strike was only slowed because of the position he's in. To face this warrior would be truly a fantastic test. You'd be happy to enter Grimnir's service, fighting one of such as King Bjorn.
Yeah, that makes me more depressed now. Since you tell me that. It's like, oh.
The warriors all start their spears, half spears are coming round, swords are being drawn, there's an uproar as the rest of the whole catches up with the events. The Slayer is standing axes, he's trapped with the back of the axes, he's trapped the broadsword and put a slight twist. King Bjorn's obviously going to try and pull this out. Alvar's struggling to get his hand to get Caradac's grip off the king's fist. Ulmakor, you step in and see this playing out in front of you.
So what am I seeing as I walk in? There's a brawl happening.
As you step in, you can see Caradak is standing in the doorway, standing tall. You can see Grim axes pulled down before him, trapping the broadsword of King Bjorn, who's clearly gone for a strike to Caradac's side. But Bjorn is on his knee, his hand twisted back. Alvar's trying to get Caradac's arm off of him. You can see Algier is stepping in, clearly his eyes focused on Caradak and Grim, but hasn't drawn a weapon. You can see soldiers or weapons are getting drawn, spears are coming out. And they're all, you see that uproar of this dawning that the king has been assaulted. And you come in and walk in behind them.
All right, I'll shout, everyone stand down. Everyone put your weapons down. Stop this stupidity, this madness, and straight in the middle of the room.
Do you use the power?
Yeah, I want to accentuate it, yeah.
No, but the power.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop! The room seems to go... Alfgeir, you could feel this pressure. The dad voice echoes through the hall, and without even being able to think, you immediately stop and turn. Alvar stops and turns. King Bjorn, you can feel Grim. His blade weaken as he forgets suddenly about the fight and looks around. Everybody stops. Their weapons go low. Caradak, Grim, you have no idea what to do because suddenly everybody just stands still and you can feel this pressure, this wave of command, and as it goes across everybody just stands and stops exactly what they're doing. But you feel no compunction to do so. What are you going to do? There's that sudden moment, you can feel the pressure from Alvar's hands goes, the king's his forward momentum stops as everybody turns, as Ulmakor, seemingly bigger than life, a force of nature, the son of Tal, steps into the room and everybody goes silent. Everything. You could hear a pin drop. Caradak, do you maintain your grip?
No, I let go.
You immediately let go and stand back?
I stand back.
Take a step back. You effectively taking a further step in the corridor. Grim?
Yeah.
Unlock the swords. Unlock the sword, sorry.
You drop your axes. Do you hold your position or do you step towards
I'll
Caradak?
put the axes back.
You actually sheathe the axes. Okay?
Yeah.
Releasing the king, he brings his arm in. Clearly you've done him some harm. But again, all attention. In that moment, this bubble of command is still in effect, and everybody looks towards Ulmakor, and you can all feel his anger, his rage, a palatable storm of nature amongst you all. Ulmakor?
I'm straight to the middle of the room towards, basically head towards the king and the confrontation as I move towards it. As I'm walking towards them, I'm staring at all the various warriors who've got various states of unsheathing weapons or have them drawn or ready to use them. And as I'm looking at them, I'm saying, everyone behave, everyone stay still, do not do anything. And I carry on till I come towards King Bjorn.
I didn't
King
need
Bjorn's
this to happen.
You can be quiet. King Bjorn's He's got his hand and he's got his sword.
So he's got this. He's got his broadsword. You know that the broadsword itself is imbued, and it's a powerful weapon inside this man's hand. It's as deadly as it can get. But you can see his hand is mutilated. And it's
The one
against
that's
his chest,
right.
and he's got the sword in his right hand.
Is he? So he's stood
On
up, is
one
he?
knee.
He's not.
No, he's on
He's
one
on
knee.
one
He was driven down, and his arm and wrist were pushed back. And you could just see Caradak was, when you walked in, he was always casual. Like there was no strain, including Alvar with both arms trying to push it back, and he was just holding him there. And then he's let go, and the king's brought his hand in, and you can see this, the anger's there, but you use the power.
Right.
You know that this command will only last a few moments longer, of course, but you know that also the side effect of this is it takes the fight out of people. But you've never done it to a king who's been so injured and embarrassed and insulted in his own hall. But Alvar is terrified.
Right. Of the situation.
You can't. By the time you go in there, you can see this look of absolute fear on the champion's face.
Right. I head towards obviously to the king, and I'll help him stand, like under his elbow, and lift him up. King Bjorn, I can see you're injured. Come this way. Come away from this situation. Come, take a seat.
He stands up and you can see he's frothing at the mouth. He's not a berserker, but the warrior the urge to kill is still on him. But you've got his attention. You've got command of him.
There is something going on in your hall that isn't ordinary. You, of all people here, understand that. You can see what's going on. This is not normal. This is not the ordinary. This would never normally happen, and never happened in the past. I need you to just come to one side. Now turn to Caradak. You don't move. You don't say anything. You don't do anything. And I'll help the king guide him towards a chair of some sort. Come sit. There's things we need immediately to talk about.
With his hand clasped, his sword still in his right hand, he stands up, towering above you. It's a broken hand. He's been hurt worse, but still under your presence. He walks forward and sits on his throne. But as he does so, you can see this is not over. And he sits, and he has his sword across his lap, and you can see he's controlling himself. He's pushing back against your presence. Alfgeir, what are you doing?
Right.
As this happens, as he walks towards his throne and slumps. Alvar hasn't moved, by the way. He's still in front of Caradak and Grim, who are blocking the archway. Alfgeir?
I'll go and stand by Alvar. See if I can snap him out of it.
The only person that's moving, you note, Ulmakor, apart from the king, who you've directly said go, and you've interacted with him. Everybody else, as you'd expect, is standing there. You obviously noted Caradak A moved and spoke. You saw Grim move, but you know that they're very resilient. To your surprise, as the king sits, you turn and see Elfgeir walk and stand beside Alvar. Nobody else is moving a muscle. Their eyes are all fixated on you. That's normal, and you see Elfgeir confused somewhat, possibly, upon his face. Concerned, definitely. You also noted, though, unlike everybody else, he was the only person in the room that, apart from Alvar, who had fear. Caradak and Grim, who were completely devoid of emotion. You would expect that from Grim. Caradak is a person that reacts emotionally. Grim, doesn't, because he's mentally broken. But Alfgeir was calm. He was in control of himself. He wasn't devoid of fear because of training or because you're insane. He was calm because he was in control, and he shows this again as he walks across the hall when everybody else is staring at you. Ulmakor?
King Bjorn, there is evil in your hall tonight, and that evil is spread out and caused this, whatever this is. Down that hallway in Erstat's old room is a presence, an evil, that I believe is casting across your hall. I followed the tracks of some creature that has been visiting your hall, and it disappears beyond the big field where Erstat died, and there's a clear trail that leads into that forest. What we need to do is we need to hold back. We need to reduce our emotions, and we need to think carefully about our next steps. And our next steps can't be just confined to insults and fighting amongst ourselves. Your entire kingdom is at threat here. What say you?
I'll give you 24 hours. You produce this evidence, this creature, and show me that it has affected us, and everything will be as it was. In 24 hours, I am king. In 24 hours, if you have not done so, your VakTare will become a hunted man, and I shall marshal the power of the Umbarogan, and I will hunt him across the known world for what he has done here.
What he has done, King Bjorn? Oh.
No, go on.
No.
No.
What he has done, King Bjorn, is saved your life.
Boom!
He may not have... Yeah.
And we'll leave it there.
No!
And his head explodes.
Wow! Emotion-driven half episode there, or what?
Leave the room for 20 minutes
Where
to go and have a look at some tracks in the forest.
From?
Next thing you know, you come in and like, what are the kids doing? What are they doing?
So King Bjorn, by the way, in case it came across wrong, is a more intelligent, more thinking, but he's based on Conan. He's supposed to be a Chimerian, Crimerian, whatever.
Sumerian.
Comedian.
Sumerian. It's Sumerian, isn't it?
Yeah. He's Crimerian comedian.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
La. Hello.
Cossack dancing. Wait, what?
So I hope I got it across. And we're out of game now. So I know we've got half an hour. We're going to hit 12 o'clock. I want to get through this sharpish, because that was it for me. That was wow, right? It started off clearly. Caradak triggered. I know that we've, normally when we're gaming and everyone's personalities are coming through, and it can be hard to stop and go, who the fuck are you talking to? If you're not in character. So I think very clearly, very quickly, we just need to say, Nevin, hopefully Talbot didn't get to the point where you thought, punch his fucking head in, and it was actually Caradak talking to Ulmakor, because right at the moment that he started effing and blinded, you went, I'm off. And I'm like, oh, I hope they got that was in game, and not reacting like him, what?
Okay, bullshit.
I think if you had been sitting like we used to across the table, you'd have seen Nevin go, fucking little shit.
Don't talk to me like that.
But yeah, I mean, clearly the story going on. I know this is to the viewers, so in case you're fresh to this, we're using WhatsApp. There's a lot of information which will be part of the books that will eventually be available to buy, so you can buy these campaigns and get access to some of the snippets. And there's a lot of information as a GM that you will be able to give to these players that you are not, as a viewer, actually aware of. It's like watching a TV show. When somebody acts in a certain way, you don't get to know necessarily what's going on. There's some stuff going on, the way they're thinking, what's happening. And all of these characters, all of these players are getting this information, and almost constant. Sometimes it can be a bit hard for me to type at the same time, so you might notice when I suddenly go a little bit as I'm talking. But what we're trying to push here is, because these, as players, don't know what information each other are getting, it's up to them what they share. And also, things are affecting them all the time. Past experiences, Christ, at the end of the day, there could be anything going on, you just don't know. And even the NPCs are just as important as the player characters. That's why you hear me describing everyone in the room that's important to that scene, what they're going through, what they're seeing, and not everybody gets the same information. Alfgeir, for example, is a completely different person, and he knows what's going on in the city, he knows what's going on in the town, and he has his own strengths and weaknesses and personality. Caradak, for those that haven't followed this from the original, is a character that was taken as a child and trained to be absolutely fearless, but also to be the ultimate warrior. Fast, dedicated, he will kill without thought and without remorse. He feels no guilt, he feels no fear. What we've seen tonight is Caradak suddenly being not only hyper-aggressive, but also towards the Semnothei, who he has spent his entire life not only being told you do what you're told, you do not even, you don't pass wind near them, but in this case, specifically, this Semnothei, Ulmakor, has given him opportunity that no other VakTare did. He's followed Ulmakor throughout things that the VakTare done, the end of the Semnothei. We know Grim is an insane slayer. He's batshit crazy, he doesn't know what a human is or a dwarf, so people have got to sort of react to him and go, well, we don't know if he knows what he's talking about. But Alfgeir is completely in the dark to these three. To anybody that's watching, you can see this change, this came over, and what you saw tonight, really so you understand the power of this is, Caradak was different. Caradak was something that you've never seen before, and he went at Ulmakor. But he has never harmed anybody that was not a threat to Ulmakor, and yet you've just seen him crush the hand of the great king in his own hall and knock him to the floor. You've seen the power of Ulmakor, softly spoken unless you piss him off. I don't know about you guys, but at one point I thought this was going to be a fight. I thought Ulmakor was going to throw him across the street. Or what was Caradak going to do? What the hell is Caradak doing? The players don't know. This is not pre-rehearsed. They don't know. They've got to go with what they're told. They've got to go with what they see, but they've got to do it their way. So, I've went on for 3 minutes there. Nevin. How did Ulmakor react? I mean, that must have been some serious control on behalf of Ulmakor when suddenly Caradak's just, never mind all the scene beforehand, that was nothing compared to that scene in the street where Caradak suddenly freaked out, swearing. The aggression was there. Did Ulmakor sense, I could get hit here? My protector is suddenly my aggressor?
It was more, well, there was that, it's more that there's some, so Ulmakor's seen this thing down the corridor, no idea what it is, what it can do, why it's there. It's in Erstat's room, and next you know, there's a complete change in Caradak. He's just not Caradak, but there's also a physical change in him. His strength and presence is changing, and then this outburst, which is totally against Ulmakor. Now he could have overreacted and like try to blow him away, or like exert his force over him, but it's not Caradak. It's something else is going on, and so that's why he's sort of like holding back, like this is. I'm not going to play this as a petulant Semnothei. How dare you talk to me like that? How very dare you? It's more, what's going on here? This is not. This is clearly not just a coincidence with the thing down the hallway. And then obviously what he's found out beyond where Erstat was killed is like there's something going on. Then to come back in the hall and find it's like open warfare. It's like what is going on here? Everyone just needs to calm down, and we need to just pull back. He actually was more likely to bite at Bjorn for issuing a threat to Caradak, but issuing it to Ulmakor to say that I've got 24 hours. That's more likely to get his backup of, I don't know who you think you are, King Bjorn, but remember, I'm still. Only a few years ago, you would have been, shitting yourself if you wouldn't even have dared to say that to me because I'd kill you. So it's still that. There's something going on with Caradak. He's getting the benefit out. You, Bjorn, fucking, you better wind your neck in a bit more because.
Yeah,
hang on a minute.
I remember when you were a young king taking over from your grandfather, Edmund. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Hey, so that's where he's at the moment. Something's going on, and it's not. It's almost like the players are being played. The strings are being pulled, and I just don't know what it is yet.
And the thing is, of course, because nobody's aware of the power of Ulmakor and what he's sensing and all that sort of thing, and he's haven't had a chance to stop and think. As you see, it's almost like the people in the town are being pushed in a certain direction, which is funny because I get a feeling that Alfgeir, through Ivan, I think he's got his mind clicking because there's a bigger camera now and you can see me face now. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on to Ivan. Obviously on one side you've got Ivan. We can only be Ivan. That's the whole point of this, is bring your skills and thought processing. But you're playing a new character. This is Alfgeir. You know who Alfgeir is and what he's going to become in the sense of what he's being set up to do. But as Alfgeir, Ivan, I suppose, out the game pointed out, my boss's boss and the world boss, the son of a god, he's going to turn up if I slap Caradak around. But of course Alfgeir, who's the thinker, which is why at a young age he's being lined up for this, is looking at Caradak and going, "What the hell?" You know, the ridiculously low-built muscle with a Mohican bounced off him. He put Bjorn down with a wrist twist, and he's holding Alvar off. Where's Algeir on all this? Never mind the explosion of anger beforehand.
Well, he's been quite close to Caradak for the entire kind of like experience in the room. You've seen him talking to nothing, responding to things we're not seeing, and a change in personality all the way through, from meeting him at first to the point where he went through that gate. All of this time, he's been responding and changing and talking to himself, and obviously something's going on. So from Alfgeir's perspective, something's communicating with Caradak and he's picking up on it. If he's picking up on it consciously, then are we picking up on this unconsciously? Are we being manipulated? And that's what's going through Alfgeir's head now.
Is Alfgeir through Ivan? Because I know how Ivan is. Is Ivan thinking, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go from A to Z and stab Lord Guthrie. Lord Guthrie's like fishing in the lake. What? Did it fix everything? No. Fuck him.
It's. I mean, obviously, I've got no background in any of this part of the campaign.
Yep.
So I don't have any kind of like background information for it. However, I'm not feeling Guthrie. Once Guthrie was removed from the environment of the castle, he was a different person entirely. In fact, everybody that you talk to outside of the kind of like the area are different. Mm. So there's something going on in that vicinity, as far as I'm picking up on anyway. So I mean, there's a focus for the kind of like the descent in the area. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the further you get away from it, the less conflict.
Unless you're Caradak, where you seem to get worse, no matter where you are. So Alfgeir's basically going. I mean, so Alfgeir's picking up that because you know Alfgeir remembers when he was 15 and he met Caradak to when he's 20 now, 5 years later, and obviously the first night there's Caradak, and he's seen as the days go. Because bear in mind, this is just day one. You know, it's just gone morning. You've spent it's only been 3 hours, right? It's been 3 hours. The king's
changing personalities all the way through.
Yeah, and you're seeing I actually like, and I know that you've said it, but I'm gonna bring that point over and have a chat with Holt quickly about it. So obviously Alfgeir has said Ivan through Alfgeir's noticing Caradak's responding, talking to things. Are you picking up anything like that?
I just think he's batshit crazy now.
Just one of us.
One of us. Because I'm just going. He's had all the with his changing through the last book.
Yeah, in the end of book 1.
So.
Do you think 5 years? Do you think 5 years with a Dowie have changed his outlook?
Yeah, 5 years as a Dowie. Yeah. All the magic that's been pumped into him, he's not gonna be the same when he left. So.
Yeah, because I mean that's the thing is obviously normally we'll talk about how these characters are feeling. When it comes to Grim, he's disassociated. Yep. Nobody knows what Grim's actually doing following these guys around anyway. Right? You know, even these two sort of Ulmakor character, like, he just didn't leave one day. We don't know why. Everyone says he's our friend. We're not going to tell him to sod off, but what the hell? You know, they must be sitting there one night going, what's with the freaking psycho dwarf? Have you asked him? I'm not asking him. So, there's Grim, but of course there's also Holt's opinion. And that's what I'm after, because we know Grim's like, we don't care. You know, the fact we've already seen Grim react to direct threats to Caradak and Ulmakor. The only time you see Grim act. Otherwise, he eats, drinks, and stares at people through them. Not because he's like, you're beneath me, because he just doesn't see people. So, when I'm coming to you, mate, that's your character, that's who you're playing. Yeah. When I'm asking you, I'm asking Holt what his opinion on all this is, not his character.
Difficult. I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, well.
It's more of a, I've got a target now. Let's see where it lands.
Because that's the thing is, when it comes to halters, I'm wondering who's he thinking about that he's going to have to start stabbing. But well, obviously we're going to move on to the final. We're going to talk to Talbot about Caradak, and obviously we can't go in game. You know, when it comes to you particularly, the whole episode is about what the hell is Caradak doing. I might even change the title of the episode to it. What's up with Caradak? I don't even know where to start or even where to end. I don't even know what to say to Talbot. Did you enjoy yourself?
I enjoyed myself thoroughly. Yeah, I think it's good.
Were you sending private messages to sending private messages? Are you all right? To Devin, you all right? I'm only playing. It's in game. You know.
I'm so sorry. No.
I wonder if it's like this in Hollywood sets, you know, Brad Pitt suddenly drop kick. Actually, it did happen between Dolph Lundgren and the Muscles from Brussels, didn't it? Not a punch up after Universal Soldier. But, so, yeah.
Lundgren every time.
It was. So, yeah, so where do you think Caradac's going with this? He's just assaulted the king in his throne room.
I'm just trying to explore, as I usually do, the various characters that I play and get into, and a lot of the things that they do, whether it's Arning or Caradak or any other guy or girl. Never played a girl though. Because I said guy or girl, but then I had to clarify. I actually never played a girl.
Wait a second, Ulmakor. I know how he's going to make it up to the king. He's going to walk up, everyone's going to be tense, he's going to kiss him. Oh! Watch his knife stabbing hand.
But yeah, I'm just getting involved in the overall story because I just see that, you know, Caradac's where he's been, and understand there's a journey to be had and a story to be told. Caradak from book 1 previously, 5 years, you know, earlier was far different. But let's not forget where in those 5 years a lot has happened. He's been, like I said, living with the Dowie folk. You know, that does have an effect.
Well,
clearly.
you were fighting in there. Caradak was fighting in their patrols. He was out there being active. So he's been in war for 5 years. He hasn't been sitting around, doing his nails. He's had another 5 years of dwarf war in the tunnels and on the surface, of course, fighting the green skin, the ogre. You know, getting to know the different enemies that he hadn't faced in the Reich Basin.
Mm-hmm. But that's what makes this whole thing great, because it's, you know, how this is, people might look and go, this is totally scripted, but it isn't, and this is what makes it great for us to role play it, because as long as we're sort of role playing to our best of our abilities, and it's great because when the other guys are sort of commenting, I'm like, oh my god, I didn't realize they're thinking that. It's like, really, is that what's going through their minds? I don't, where'd that come from? And that's what makes it so. It's so natural for you to see. Much
I
fun.
think really, let's be fair. What's going through my mind is, I want to be a girl.
Well, I definitely want to be a girl at some point.
Daisy chain.
So what's Caradaki doing today? What more shower time? Yeah, after the shower.
It makes more sense that he was called Carrie. But no, you make a valid point. You make a valid point, not only from a James point of view when I've got the story here. And it was likened, as I think both of you have said when we were talking about George R. Martin, and how we talked about the different types of writer. The one that forced the story, the one that plants it and lets it grow. Was it Pratchett? One of them had said. I misquoted one of them there anyway, but obviously the story's here and the story's going on in the background regardless of what you're going to do. But of course, clearly there is going to be certain things will be brought to your attention, and you'll move on from them, you'll ignore them, and you'll follow your own storyline, which is also running in parallel, and it interacts with these people's lives. And from a GM's point of view, the pleasure I get is when you guys get it smack on what the story's about, but also when you go off in such a wild tangent, and I'm thinking, where's this going? I don't even know where the story's going now. This is fantastic. But of course, the next level is, because we're in character, yes, we'll break out, we'll have a bit of a laugh and a joke, but that was some serious character development, role play, and everybody has to react to it. And when you put your emotion into it, of course, you are thinking like, as you point out there, Alfia sees one thing, Ulmakor's seeing another, Grimm's seeing another, and they are coming to these conclusions. And when they do get a chance to talk, sometimes the right information's being said, sometimes it isn't. But everybody is looking at this from a different point of view, and you just don't know what's going on or where it's happening. And WhatsApp has been a fantastic tool to use, and I can't recommend it enough. In roleplay, if you've got the chance, beats pen and paper, writing little notes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely, 100%.
Well, also considering the distance, it would.
Either Ivan saluting me, or
What
we
he's
lost
trying
it.
to do telepathically.
Oh, it's back.
It's frozen.
Nope.
Yeah.
You're like, hey!
Yeah, I really had to hold my tongue at the start when he pulled Grimm from the goop.
Yep.
And threw him across the room with Ulmakor. I'm like, that's why I'm like, oh, that's an Australian sport, I'm pretty sure. And I was like, oh, I could go off on this one, and I'm really, really tempted to just go off on the dwarf tossing thing. And I was like, no, because I mean, obviously, you were trying not to derail, but it was like every fibre of me being was like, let's go,
Yeah. The characters haven't even had a chance to go.
He threw it dwarf.
Nobody
Dwarf at the
tosses a
bottom.
dwarf 15 foot into the back of Ulmakor.
It's such a rich environment for it in the taste that I was literally sitting there going, right, I'm just going to shut up.
Yeah. No, it was a priceless moment that I'm glad everybody let go. But well, guys, we're going to bring the recording to an end. It's 10 to midnight where I am. It's different times around the world, obviously, specifically for our players. Next week, let's hope that we're going to be able to run on time, and we will see the big 4-0, episode 40. And we'll see how this ends. Not the whole series, obviously, but bloody hell. Episode 3, we've got a broken-handed king. You've got 24 hours to find the evidence, or he's going to hunt Caradak down with the full power of the Umberogan.
It's not going to be a stupid mid-season filler, is it? Which doesn't work.
Yeah.
Here's baby Caradak.
Monster of the week.
Shit! Caradak walking a dog in the Dwarflands. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Goes without saying, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself at least half as much as I did. And any last words? Not in a bad way.
No, just if you like what we do, you know what you need to do. Follow, subscribe, make us grow, so we can, make more of this shit.
Absolutely.
The good shit.
So we can give up our jobs and do this 7 days a week. And then get on Amazon Prime and Netflix and get Guy Ritchie to direct. Because this is clearly Guy Ritchie. As it was pointed out by Talbot earlier, is the episode 39, but as each episode gets long, it's like this is getting more and more like a Guy Ritchie script. He'd love it. Anybody else? Nope.
No.
Well, we'd say.
Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next week. We'll get this uploaded to YouTube. See us on Twitch. You see it all at the end there. And here's the end credits. Good night, everyone.
Good.
Good night.
Bye.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
Talk to me
he
later.
had the outburst, but immediately afterwards he switched personality. It was kind of like, oh, you fucking piece of shit, blah blah blah. And he walked away, and it was see again. It was like, oh, so you could tell straight away from personality switch that he was actually kind of like role playing it through. So I can see any
Or was it?
umbrage taken for that one.
Gonna go along with it.
Yeah.